Hello, hello. How are you guys? This is Dippin' Time.
And hello, everybody. This is Sparkle.Sanctuary. I'm Rebecca.
You know what time it is. We are going to be talking about mental health. So there's been a lot of things going on in the world for everyone. And we're now into November. Like, where the heck did the time go?
I would like to ask the same thing.
Yeah. I think we're both on the same boat, but I don't know where the boat's going or how fast we're going.
Somebody recently said to me that the older that you get, the faster time flies, and I'm starting to feel that.
My daughter said that, and I'm like, please don't say that, because if it's going faster for you, that means it goes twice as fast as me.
Right?
Yeah, it just... But we are both really happy to be here and having some time to chat. One of the things that we've been chatting about, we've been trying to figure out how to kind of do these videos that kind of like make sense, but things don't always make sense. So we thought we would take a step back and kind of just reflect on how things are going overall. And, sometimes when we're trying to do things, we get in our heads and we're trying to figure out, like, I have friends, but I don't have friends. I have an opinion, but I'm afraid to say what my opinion is. What are people going to think about it? And it just kind of spirals. So I think today we are going to talk about friends. What exactly is a friend? What does that look like? Now, I'm only going to speak on my behalf. I am not going to be speaking on anybody else's behalf because that's not my story to tell. But I know growing up, having friends was something that was highlighted as important. You want friends. And not only do you want friends, but you want good friends. Now, I am going to date myself. This was before the internet. And when we talked about friends, we talked about actual physical friends, in-person friends. And nowadays, when we talk about friends, they're not just in-person friends. I mean, I think Rebecca's one of my friends, but she doesn't live in my city. Rebecca, are you one of my friends?
Yes, but not only do I not live in your city, I don't even live in your country.
Oh my God, I can't be friends with you then. Which is absolutely bull, because she is one of my friends. And she's one of my good friends. So when we talk about friends, what exactly does that look like? What does that mean? How does it feel? Now, I know for me, when things started to change, a lot of individuals that were around me that I would consider friends weren't around me, and they have left my life. And it's like, were they my friend? I thought they were my friend. We shared things. We confided in each other. We saw each other. But then you're gone. And that can happen at many times. Sometimes for the better, and sometimes very confusing. But what actually is a friend?
I will say that I had considered people to be my friends that stuck around me when I was the worst version of myself. And when I decided to make myself better, they were no longer there.
Now, why do you think that is?
Because I think it's easier for people to look at themselves and see your flaws and see their flaws and say, well, if they can be flawed, then I could be flawed. But when they see you doing better, it's scary because it makes them look in the mirror.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Now, I know other people have said that we sometimes hang out with people who we are alike. And I know I sometimes don't like seeing certain things, and people sometimes will say that you dislike somebody because it's a similar trait you have. Now, I really don't like that because that means there's many things I don't like of myself. I think too, with what Rebecca was saying, that, you know, sometimes people are no longer around you because you're not that same person that you are trying to change, and they are very uncomfortable with it. So when you're like, because I know sometimes, like, you know, you have people in your life, Rebecca, where they kind of hang out because they can get what they want when they want it. And then when you start to recognize that and go, I don't like that, I don't want to do that anymore, I don't want to be that, and you go to change it, there's I don't know about you, but I find there's a lot of like friction and disagreements, arguments, where it's like, well, you used to do this, why don't you do it anymore? It's like, because I'm trying to change that part.
Yeah.
And I think that
I think,
yep.
Go ahead.
No, you go for it.
Well, I was going to say, and it's weird because as people, you had made a comment about friendship and like how you're associated with people. And I think friendship comes around because of happenstance, and you get along because of a commonality, but that doesn't mean that everything about you is the same, right? So a lot of times, like you and I, we came together to be friends over our love of diamond painting because we met at a retreat. Did we bonded over just our love for mental health and again, our love for diamond painting, and we've just kind of slowly gotten to know each other since we met back in late July or May. Yeah, since late May. But I think that saying that somebody is similar, that you're a bad person because you see bad qualities in other people, I don't think so. I think that's just a reflection of them, not necessarily you.
I like to think that, and I know when I heard that, it was like, what? It made me actually pause. And in some cases, it actually didn't make me feel very well. And started second guessing myself and like, am I really like that? And now I got to try and not be like that. And it's interesting because your true friends will notice that you're trying to change things, and they're like, okay, what's going on? I'm calling it out.
Yeah.
Not in a mean or vicious way. It's just like something's going on because they know who you are and they accept you for who you are. It's those ones where, and I know this is where my challenge is. Okay, guys. I don't have a lot of really close knit friends where we hang out together. I would rather be like small groups hang out, and get to know people versus being in a large group and talking to everyone. That's my style. But sometimes you're not given that opportunity.
Right. I actually haven't had a friend group since I was probably in college. I became very isolated when I was married, and I didn't work or go anywhere or have friends. And then that's not true. I had one or two friends that he would allow me to have, but they were fair weather friends. And as long as I was obedient and doing everything I was supposed to, they stayed my friend. And then when I got divorced and I started explaining what was going on behind closed doors and finally started opening up about what I had experienced in the home that they had never seen, they decided to go against every bit of who I am, called me a liar, and took sides with him. And I'm not a side seeker. I'm not that person. And so I walked away and told them they could have him. And so I lost everybody. I had family at the end, and I had one person that I considered a friend-ish, and she and I became closer over time. But then we had a falling out because I had made a post on Facebook about one person, and she thought it was about her, and she was very politically upset and riled up at the time and wouldn't listen to me when I was trying to explain what happened. And so we just ended up not reconnecting. And so for the majority of my last, at least 4 years of my life, I've only had, like, I have coworkers. I have coworkers, and I will hang out with them periodically, but I don't have people that I just hang out with. So I can't even say, like, I just would like, I like to have people to hang out with. And it really is kind of scary because they, like, when you put yourself in the dating game and you're talking to mental health professionals, they'll say, well, keep an eye out for those ones that don't have friends because there's something toxic about them. And that means that people don't like them and they don't want to be around them. Oh, I just bumped my phone. I am so sorry. I hope I didn't make anybody dizzy. And it scared me because it made me realize, like, people are going to avoid me because I don't really have friends. And then it started making me look at myself. Am I the problem? Am I a horrible person? What have I done wrong in my life that makes me not worthy of having long-term friendships and for people that want to go and do things? And honestly, I love being by myself. In fact, this weekend, my kids are with their dad, and my boyfriend has wanted to spend time with me, and I've told him I need space. I need time by myself because I enjoy my alone time. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I always want to be alone or that I don't want to ever go out,
I think you make a really good point there, because as you're saying that, I'm like, I do. I love my time. I do. And just because you like your time doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. We all want our own time at some point. It just depends on your personality and what needs you have. And it's true when they're like, oh, they don't have very many friends. I wonder why. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, do I really need to analyze myself about that? I don't want to, because now I'm going to find something, or I'm going to make something come true because I don't have friends. And that's not necessarily the case. You also make a really good point where you're talking about picking sides. I am not a side picker. And I'm really trying to change that part of people pleasing because I want to be a friend. I want you to be nice to me because I want to be nice to other people. I'm not a vindictive person. I don't want to go out and like, oh, I'm going to use that person for this. Mm-hmm. That is not me. And it's really hard because we're not that other person. We don't know what they want or what their intention is. And I know for me, I have a hard time trusting. But I also want to see the goodness in people because I believe there is goodness. And I get really upset when I will bend over backwards and I will try and see your point of view, and then I get backstabbed. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and then I
Absolutely.
feel
Yeah.
foolish. I feel foolish because, I knew someone had shared something with me, and I'm like, okay, yep, got it. And then when it happens, it's like, I'm no different than that person who told me that this is what you did or what you do. And I didn't want to believe it. Part of it was because I really want a friend. And sometimes we will do things and say things because we want to fit in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not cool. And it's hard. And I think that that's one of the things about becoming an adult is I think we learn those things about ourselves and we try to do better and be better. At least I do. I'm sure you do too. Not every adult will, but we do. And I don't know. So I kind of want to give going back to the not choosing sides. Here's an example. When my ex-husband and I split, we had a couple that we were friends with. Now, it was really the wife was my friend. The husband worked with my ex-husband, and my ex-husband would repeatedly say he couldn't stand those people. He did not want me to invite them over. He did not want them around. He didn't want me having anything to do with them, but I would do it anyway because she was my friend, right?
Yep.
And that was the only, like, he really made my life miserable, and I thought that friendship was worth fighting for.
Yep.
And whatever consequence I was given, because I didn't have very many friends. And when he and I split up, and again, I started telling people what was really going on behind closed doors. When I told her, it wasn't that she didn't believe me, but she just truly could not understand. And I think part of it was that she didn't believe me because she would say, oh, well, he's so charming. How could he do that? I keep bumping my phone. I am so sorry. I really hope I'm not making anybody's easy. But her daughter had a birthday party, and she decided that it was going to be a pool party, and she invited me, and I said, great. I love your kid. I've been around their family for a long time. And I said, did you invite my ex-husband? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, cool. And she said, that's cool. And I said, well, I mean, it's fine that you invited him. I think you should absolutely invite whoever you want to invite. And she was like, okay, so I'll see you there. And I said, no, you won't.
No.
And she became very upset. And she said, so you're saying I have to choose him or you? And I said, no, you don't have to choose anybody. I'm telling you that when I am around him, I hyperventilate and I get upset, and I am not in any way going to make myself in a vulnerable enough place like a pool party around him. And if you want to invite him, that's perfectly fine. He can take the kids. Nobody but me is going to miss it. It will be okay. And she became irate and started yelling at me and was telling me I was selfish and that I was making her choose sides. And she was just going on and on. And she kept saying, how dare you be so rude? How dare you make me choose sides? And after a couple of days of back and forth of me saying, I promise I'm not making you choose sides. My kids are still going to be there. She's still going to have her birthday party. He can take them. It's not a big deal. I'm the only one missing it. And I'm choosing to miss it because I don't want to be in that situation, especially this close to when I finally opted to leave him. And she couldn't get over it. And so I finally said, I'm done. I can't do this. I can't sit here and have you claim that I'm making you choose anybody. So I made the choice to walk away. And that was hard because, like I said, I had thought she was a good friend, and I had fought really hard to keep her as a friend. And put myself in danger to keep her as a friend. And it's ironic because, she stuck around, and my kids said for a little while after I stopped, hanging out with her, that she would come around them every once in a while with my ex-husband, but they've only seen them twice in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So obviously he didn't really want to keep them as a friend. He just wanted to keep me from having a friend. You know what I mean?
And in those cases, it's more of, it's a game, it's a challenge. It's not, I want them because I truly want them. It's, who can get them?
Well, and it's even more than that. It's how alone can I make you?
Yeah. And listening as you're talking about that, I'm really noticing some sadness and bewilderment of, why is it upsetting this individual because you are not going when you make the choice? And, I don't have to like it, but I can at least say that is your choice.
Right.
I don't like it. But you mean more than this event. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry that you feel that way. I totally can appreciate where you're coming from. Maybe we can do something separately. Right? I will say, when I am not in close relations with my mom and stepdad at this moment. My choice. And when my daughter went to get married, she invited them. And I'm like, okay. The event is important for me. I know they're going to be there, because of course they would be there. But I'm going to figure out how I'm going to try and handle this. But there was a safety piece was not part of it. So you have to bear in mind, guys, I'm not doing a comparison. Please do not take it that way. If it was a safety thing, I would, no. My daughter wouldn't have even asked. But it's true, when they don't understand, and it's almost, I know where you know where I'm going?
Yeah, I know where you're going with that. I don't know. I just, for me personally, and it was so quick. It was so, we'd only been split up for a couple months. So it was still very fresh. It was still very new. And so there was a massive safety piece there. And so, yeah. But now because time has passed, it's been, gosh, nearly 10 years since all that happened. It's been 9 years. And, I have, my kids are older and things are different, and I have other people that help me. I feel like I have a little bit more safety in numbers, but when you're surrounded by people, and I think this is why I was okay walking away from that friendship. I obviously did not feel safe enough with them that I thought I could handle it.
Yeah. For me, that was a hit on the nose, because I really had to think and plan and have discussions with my husband to go, okay, this is happening. And I was talking with my therapist and psychiatrist. It was like, okay, so my daughter is very important to me. I don't know if I can handle this. Talking about this, I am getting very anxious. My heartbeat's going up, and I'm talking really, really fast, and I'm trying to stay grounded. And how can I make this work? What do I need in my toolbox? Where can I go? It got to the point where I had to kind of figure out where where it was, where everything was going to be laid up for the wedding in their backyard. So I could figure out escape routes and
Yes.
Who was going to be around, secret signs like, okay, honey, and I could just go up and like kind of touch, and it was nonverbal. So it didn't distract, but it took a lot of work. And I had to really make sure that I didn't get cornered in any locations by myself.
Yes, and that's the thing. Like, how do you're at in a pool in a hotel?
Yeah.
Where is
Yeah.
that safety exit without causing a disruption?
Yeah. And see, and I would have had a hard time. I just thinking about that. My first response is, hell no.
Because you're so vulnerable.
Too many things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like, no.
You're just as vulnerable in a swimsuit as you are in underwear. Like, no.
Yeah, no. You wouldn't be catching me. Nope. I would be on the side, fully clothed, trying to help other kids and people. I'd be, nope. I don't have time to talk to you, sorry.
And see, but there was nobody that knew them that I was close to that knew in that situation. And think about it. That birthday party was for the kid of my friends. They were going to be busy. There was no escape route for me if he cornered me. And it was so fresh and so new. And literally I had just, he had just torn, what's it called? My rotator cuff. He had just messed up my rotator cuff. And so I wasn't even like strong enough. Like I was injured. Like there was nothing that made me feel safe in that scenario. And
So
the fact that she didn't understand.
Yeah. So as you're talking about that, the image that comes in my head is a defenseless animal who's been injured, and you're going to put them in the woods by themselves.
Yes.
Hell no.
And I tried to explain all of that to her, and she did not get it. She was like, well, it's him. You know, he's not going to do anything. Really? Because you thought. Yeah.
No. Right. But then again, if I recall correctly, you said that this individual saw them as very charming, nice. And, similar to, I want to see good in people. I don't want to see that. So I'm not going to be looking for it. I'm not looking for those little signs.
Yes. Well, and to be,
they're there.
And to be honest, like her husband didn't have, like he was weird and he didn't have any friends. And so, oh my gosh, I keep bumping my phone. I'm so sorry. I think that they valued my ex-husband's friendship because of that, and so.
They also work together, right?
Yes.
So yeah, see, there's other elements in that whole situation. Right? You don't want to tick someone off that you work with.
Right.
Because that's your livelihood. That's another whole element. Right? And
exactly.
Then there's kids there. So you wouldn't think that, well, I'm not inviting the ex-murderer or the serial killer to my child's birthday party. Everyone is very nice.
Right.
And you're like, no, but okay, if that's what you want to think, you know what? By all means. I'm just not going to put myself in that situation, which I think for you is huge. And I just want to give you acknowledgement for that. That is amazing.
Thank you.
That is courageous. The awareness. And then standing your grounds and the boundaries, that is huge. And
especially because I'm a people pleaser. Yeah, it was really hard. And then to recognize that, like, even after explaining all these things, that she just kept berating me and telling me that I was a bad person and that I obviously like couldn't have her and and have us all be friends at the same time, and you know how selfish I was. And after all of that, I was not going to be made to feel guilty. So yeah, and it's unfortunate. And I think, and that's kind of where I'm at. Like I think part of me losing friends is because I set boundaries and people don't like it.
Yes.
And then once I set those boundaries and people don't like it, I'm okay with walking away. And that really offends people. I've lost enough people in my life that I'm okay with walking away.
Yep.
And
it's true. You are worth more than that.
Yeah.
And I know that may sound cliche, but it's also an aha moment. I remember being my first year of university, away from home, and I roomed with my best friend at that time, and they were great socially. I was not. They were outgoing. I was not. And we moved in, her and I moved in the second half of the first year. We moved into an apartment with one of the people she had met during spring classes. We did not match. We did not match. And then the fact that her friend moved in, claimed the biggest room, and claimed the room beside hers from my so-called best friend. And then I was around the corner. So, I felt like the third wheel. They would go into her place on the weekend and hear these stories when they got back. And I'm like, well, thanks for inviting me too. Right? I've literally upended, left my long-term boyfriend at home. I do not know anybody in this city. I feel very awkward. It's the first time I'm away from home. And, I end up going and seeing some student services. And, I had this moment of, you know what? You're not cool. A true friend wouldn't do that.
Yes.
Right? This so-called friend of mine, I'd known all through high school. We did everything together. And I say when we did everything together, my boyfriend, her, and I, the three of us would do everything together. And, at the time I'm like, yeah, so I don't, like, everyone's like, oh, that's not very, you should be aware. And I'm like, nah, we're good. Yeah. Well, she was taking an abnormal psychology class. And of course, when you take abnormal psychology classes, everybody starts diagnosing everybody. And, oh, you've got this and you've got that. And, and this so-called best friend even had said to me, I would love to take, so she said, she was saying this to me. I had told her that there was an area within our province that I had grown up that I would never want to go back to. It just had really, really awful memories. And as she's taking the psychology class, she's like, I would love to take you back and just watch you, how you respond in that environment.
That's psychotic.
That is not cool, man. Like, I wouldn't do that to you. Right? And I'm like, well, maybe it was just a thought. Maybe it was just a thought, And when I was talking with the student services, she's like, that is not cool. That is not kosher. She's using you as a guinea pig. And I'm like, well, that's what I felt like. I felt like I was being put into the middle of an experiment. Let's see how this rat works in this environment. And I'm like, no, I told you horrific things happened there. I do not want to go back there. It gives me nightmares. And I had come home one weekend and I got together with my boyfriend, and you get talking. Well, I had said, that this so-called friend seemed very uptight. No, you got to mind me, okay? I was young. I was like 19 at the time.
Yeah.
And we got talking, and I had said something that was, even me now was like, Rhonda, why the hell did you say that? Well, maybe she just needs to get, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Well, one weekend she'd gone home and I stayed, and I had just happened to be talking with the student services, and this is when that conversation had come up. And I was at home in this apartment, and I'm like, I need to get out of here. And I could hear her come in, and I could hear crying. And I'm like, are you okay? And she turned and she looked at me, and she's like, how dare you say this to your boyfriend? How cruel, how mean, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, the first thought that went through my head was, why is my boyfriend and you getting together on a weekend when I'm not there? Why is my boyfriend telling things to you that I say to him confidentially? And it just spiraled.
Yeah.
And I like, and that was like halfway through the first year. And I was like, I need to get out of here. I need to, like, but I'm also a people pleaser. So I've already paid my tuition. I said I was doing this. I'm doing this. But when she blew up at me, it didn't have the effect she expected, because I had already come to that aha moment of, you know what? Yes, what I said was not very nice, but I also am not going to be using you as a guinea pig to put you back in a situation that was very dangerous. And in that moment, she was like, you're no friend of mine. And I'm like, okay. And it was like, that was one of the first times I ever went, you're really not a friend. And it was an aha moment. For me, it was one of those life-turning moments.
Yeah.
It's like when you can, like you said, Rebecca, like when you go like, you know what? I'm okay walking away from this relationship. You're not picking sides. It's just like, you know what? I don't have space in my world, in my life, for you.
Yep.
You're not good for me. I'm trying to change something, and yet you see me as defined as however you want to define me, but I'm not that. And then when you leave there, I don't know about you, Rebecca, but I know when I did that, it was kind of like, okay, I'm okay leaving it, but now who do I have as a friend? What does that look like?
Yes and no. It's weird because, like I said, I haven't had like a majority of the time over the last 9 years. It's been people that I, hung out with at work, or like I have somebody that I would consider a friend that I met at my last job, and we used to get together once a month and do diamond painting stuff together. And it's been over a year since that happened. It's been a very, very, very long time. And, I just reach out to her every once in a while, check on her. I still contact her and whatever. And I don't know. I don't know how to, because I feel like sometimes I wonder if I'm too pushy and I'm too needy, because I'm the one that reaches out. I'm like, hey, I haven't heard from you in like a month, just checking in. Or if maybe then I go into my head and I go, is she actually wanting to be my friend? Are we, did I do something wrong? Because that's something that I have anxiety, and that's what my brain does. It always thinks worst case scenario, and it obviously can't be anything wrong with her. It has to be me, because, I also have that, I call it anxiety vanity.
Oh, okay.
I know nobody's ever really
Okay.
talked about that before, but we do tend to, if you have anxiety specifically around things like this, and you kind of fester in them, it becomes very selfish. And so, yeah, I started calling it anxiety vanity. And then I start feeling guilty for feeling like, oh, well, this could be anything about me, because she's probably got stuff going on in her own life. I don't know. I don't know. It's so odd. And honestly, that one friendship that I was just talking about, losing that friendship was a blessing in disguise. And I'm glad things ended up going down the way they did. That guy her husband ended up being a bad person, and is in jail now, I believe, for bad things with children. So I'm glad that because I think at the time, like I said, I had literally just split up with my now ex-husband, and I may have, because I was a stay-at-home mom, so I never left my kids really. And so I didn't see a need of them going to sleepovers to other people's houses. But when my ex-husband and I split up, if there was something that I needed, I probably would have turned to her and said, hey, I need help with something. Can you keep them for the night? And my children would have been hurt. And so, I got what I needed. I got what I needed. And I'm very grateful that things, now looking back on it, I'm grateful that things went down the way they did. But at the time, I didn't understand. And I definitely didn't understand how anybody could claim that they knew me and still misunderstand me so severely.
I think when that happens, it actually hurts.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you not understand me? I have been an open book for you, and you still do not understand me.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think I understand your anxiety vanity, because there's times where I can come across as needy or persistent. I'll use the word persistent. Because I'm trying to figure out, and I'm trying to make the right choices and give people what they want because of the people pleasing. It's like, okay, so, I'm trying to anticipate your needs and give you what I think you want, but I haven't heard back from you, so I'm gonna, what did I do?
Mm-hmm.
So, are you okay? You haven't responded. Are you okay? Did I do something wrong?
Yep.
And then it's like, I'm sorry for bothering you. If I'm pestering you, please let me know. Sorry, I keep sending you messages. Okay, I'm going to stop. I still haven't heard back from you.
Right.
Right?
Well,
And
it's like,
go ahead.
Have you ever been called into like a boss's office or something, and they're like, I need to, come and see me in an hour. I need to talk to you.
No,
Like,
please don't do that to me.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
Do not do that to me.
I can't. And
No.
and I work at a school, and an admin is always busy, and so they actually say those kinds of things. And I the entire time that I'm waiting, I'm having a complete meltdown.
Oh yeah, and I am trying to figure out, what have I been working on? Did I get it completed the way I was supposed to get it completed? What haven't I done? What should I have done?
What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I would get those as like a text message, or not a text message. I would get that as an email. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
what? No. Uh-uh. And then you can't find them. So now you can't focus on what you're actually supposed to be doing, and you're observing the entire area, and all the other coworkers like, am I getting fired? Oh shit. What didn't I do? Like,
Yes. Yes.
the other
Yeah,
one
my
for
boss at my
me
previous
is
job did that to me. She said, I want to talk to you about something. And then she went on vacation.
no.
I about lost my mind. She was gone for 5 days. I about lost my mind.
No. No, 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 no. No, no, no.
And when she came
I
back and she was like, oh, I don't even remember what I was going to talk to you about. I was probably going to ask you for help on something.
Oh,
What?
and meanwhile, I would be
What?
absolutely nauseous. I wouldn't be able to eat. I wouldn't be able to sleep. I would
Yep.
be snappy at everybody. My eyeballs would be like, ugh.
Yep.
No, please don't do that. The other ones that would drive me into that kind of thing too was accolades or good work. I got one that was like a little email, and I couldn't read the email. Like, it was an email, and I'm like, oh God, it's from my boss. I need to open it. It might be something for a project. But if it wasn't for a project, then they would have come and talked to me, and like you haven't even opened up the friggin' email, and you already
Mm-hmm.
start, right? Or the phone rings and you see a certain number. It's like, oh.
Yeah, your brain goes through every single scenario before you're like, hello?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, unless you told me you were going to call me, please don't call me.
Yep. Yep.
Right?
Oh my.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for part 1 of our mental health musings, November 1st. Please go over to Rebecca's channel at Sparkle Sanctuary for part 2 of our conversations regarding friendships.